Hey Jess, okay, so here's your past life spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at where we are, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationship and feelings involved, another important day, the death and lesson learned. We'll get hints of time throughout. And all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that I'm getting. And your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what we're going over here in your current life. And I'll try to help however I can, okay? So, just want to make sure you see these guys. There we go. There we go. Alright. Where we're going to start is the Americas. So, when I put this down, I felt like we were being pulled to South America. And for a moment, it was South America, but then it felt very much like we're looking at someone who immigrated up to North America, and I want to say where they came up is somewhere on the West Coast, and it felt like what we consider to be kind of New Mexico-ish area today. I'm not very familiar with that area, but it feels like it's different from what they're used to, but it's also, there's like enough similarities in the climate or whatever that there's still like touches of home where there's still comfort available. It feels like we're looking at first it was hard as far as like a female life or male life, but we're looking at a female life here. However, we're looking at someone who has a lot of like gusto, which is not a word I use, so just know like certain words come out for whatever reason. So even like things like that, if you like, for example, I just said gusto. Okay, so let's say you're driving around tomorrow and you see a billboard with the word gusto on it. Keep your eyes open for synchronicities like that, and I feel like that's important for you to pay attention to at this time, is to acknowledge any synchronicities you might be seeing. You know, like how a lot of people see 1111 or whatever. If you keep seeing recurring numbers or recurring things that like make up, like you put them together and it's a coincidence, but it's not a coincidence, it's synchronicity. Just know that if you are looking to be guided in any way, if you're looking for guidance from above or whatever, that's going to be your ticket to opening that channel of communication for you to help you with that guidance. So anyway, that's just something coming through. But how you might be connecting with this in any way could be, have you ever wanted to go to the West Coast? Have you ever been drawn to beautiful desert landscaping or landscape? Have you, even New Mexico in general, any connections there, or any pull to visit? It could be Arizona. It just feels like it's what's it called? Just like that feel where it's like the Southwest kind of thing. Also, any connections you might have as far as immigration goes. So if you are being triggered big time when you see, read, hear things about immigration and you feel triggered by that emotionally, it would be a connection here as well. Even though I do understand that currently the state of things politically, blah, 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 there's a lot of that, I get it. But even before that, you know, if immigrants, the idea of immigration, leaving home, seeking out new routes, fleeing from home, anything like that, those themes of leaving home, looking for home, something like that. If that touches on anything or triggers you in any way, that would be a connection as well. So keep that in mind as well. Keep in mind any connections you have as far as this female character being a very strong character in the sense of where the energy, like, it's like she had to call up all the masculine energy she had, so to speak, to like kind of tough it out for a while. So we're looking at someone who had to tough it out, and not only that, but it feels like she was keeping everybody together in that sense, like a mama hen almost, but like really strong. And it's almost like having to give up softer parts in order to survive. So there is this feeling of survival, getting through things, like a compromising of softer ways that don't serve her, because it feels like having those about her during this time would slow her down or not help her with the survival mode that I'm feeling from this instance happening. I'm trying to see why they left. I'm trying to see the time period. It feels like we're looking like very far back. It doesn't feel, it's not like, this is not ancient. It does not feel ancient. It feels, and I don't want to say modern because this is not like where there's cars even. I feel like this is like even before cars, like 1800s maybe something about going up the coast to find up the coast. Okay, so what's coming through is something about her she's there because her family was invited, and it feels like an investment. It feels like they're invited because there's so much work up here that, or there's something going on. Look up, go ahead and Google when the gold rush was, or yeah, the gold rush. Look up the time period for that and see what that is, because I feel like this is linked in somehow where it's almost like her husband, this right here, your husband, her husband, it was like an invitation or a pull to come up here, and it's going to be riches, filthy rich, and they can use us, and da-da-da, and it seemed like a really great opportunity, and then the reality of it, it's really hard, and it's like, it's just hard, sweaty work. Like, I don't think she's working where he is. Like, if there's mines, or there's something about mines, or wherever they dig that stuff up, and it's like her husband goes off to work there and she's home, and I feel like there is a large family. Okay, so also that time period, if that connects with you in any way, even in like little ways, like, oh, that's the time period I like to learn about in high school, you know, that kind of thing historically. There's also, you know, like how what they're showing me is they use filters that I have, like in my mind, like to give me information in detail. So what they're doing is showing me little flashes of that movie, The Mask of Zorro, the one with Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, that one. That's what they're giving me as far as a time frame and as far as what to expect as far as their living situation and treatment once they're in this new country. So it's hard going. So you might be someone in your current life who roots for the underdog, or you want to help people less fortunate than you, or you are triggered or emotional when it comes to people seeking a better life, and almost like it might be better than where they came from, but it's still not like dignified. So there's something here having to do with dignity, human dignity, and if you find yourself dealing with themes or being triggered by human dignity, keep that in mind. That would be a connection in whatever way that means to you. Human dignity. That, you know, it might be where you might be someone who feels like you have to have a job or a career where you can feel dignified, proud of yourself, where you can feel like you're not micromanaged or basically enslaved, right? So if a job is like an issue with you at all, it could be that you'd be much happier doing something where you're not micromanaged, you're not working even for anybody, or if you are working for someone, you have like full autonomy of your workload. I feel like even like doing your own practice of whatever you might want to do would be really good for you. There's something about freedom, independence with this person, and we're only on the first card, so keep making connections where you can. We're going to move along here. So this card, it tells you, it tells us what you do with the majority of your time, and it's the give, give, give card. And this can mean a few different things, you know, just based on what a giver is and how one gives. I feel like this is giving fully of yourself over to the survival of your family, to the point where you're compromising a lot of your own goals, ambitions, dreams, what you wanted out of life, something you could have had you stayed back and didn't move to this new place. There is something about where you came from had things that this new place doesn't have. purely based on the culture, like dancing is what I feel like is coming to mind, is like dancing. Like there would be a specific dance, like Hawaiians have the luau, I don't know what the dance name is, but you know what I mean, the haka, I don't know. So, you know, Hawaii has very specific cultural dance, and many places have specific cultural dances, and I feel like we're looking at a dancer who had to leave the cultural, like their stage, their platform for what they love to do in order to kind of, I guess, I don't know why. I'm trying to see, like, I think it was just a family thing, because at this point I feel like there's like 4 kids, at least 4 kids, like it's a full family, and I feel like she just gave up all that to be like dutiful wife, mother kind of thing. So connections you can make here: are you a giver? Are you someone that isn't balancing your own, like giving things to yourself? Like, if anything, this would be a message for you to make sure that you are filling your own love bucket up for you. It's not selfish. Like, make sure that you are doing things that bring you joy, peace, you know, happiness to your heart, to your soul, to your body. I feel like movement is very important for this aspect, which would connect with you. If there's something going on with you physically or mentally, I feel like movement would help you in a lot of ways. Or it can also be a connection to a deeper kind of divine connection through movement and breath. And you might want to look into that too, because there are dances out there that are danced because it is like a communication with the divine. So it's not just to, you know, dance just to dance, which there is that too, but there's something about movement that's very important here. So if you can make a connection with that, please do. Otherwise, it would also just be a message that, hey, maybe this is a hobby you want to look into, or maybe you want to look into taking a class of moving, or I don't know, Pilates or something. So keep that in mind. Also connecting with the give role. It could also be because you were a giver in this life. Yeah, you might directly make a connection as a giver in your current life, or we also have opposite connections we can make, right? So if you were such a giver in this life that you compromised so much, your soul could have decided to come back in this time period in order to live a life where you're not compromising yourself anymore, and you find that, hey, I'm good, I'm able to, you know, give to myself and be happy and make sure I'm taken care of, so to speak. So keep that in mind, because that can be a kind of connection too, where once your soul experienced one thing, it's back to experience something else, okay? But also keep in mind the theme of, or the concept of compromise. That feels like it's big here too. So just make sure you are not compromising your dreams and your joy for other people's dreams and joy. You know, if someone else needs something, let them find it, let them get it. I know it's hard to do if you have kids or if you have a partner and you want to make them happy, and you know, that's great, but they can, you know, on a soul level, like, they can make things happen for themselves if it's meant to be. So just make sure you're not compromising yourself for other people's happiness, because I feel like that's a lesson here that you already learned, and it shouldn't be extending over into this life anymore. So wrap it up. Wrap that up. Okay, so let's go to the first important day, and keep making connections where you can. Also connections as far as a big family. Are you someone that wants a big family? Or it's likely to, if you feel like, I don't want kids in this life, or maybe just one kid, or adoption, or, you know, something where it's not so consuming that, like, 4 kids and a household and this and that. You might have chosen to just be independent in that way in this lifetime and not feel such an urge to have a huge family, or you could feel an urge to have a large family in this time period that we're in now, where we're able to provide better for them in that way, because it just feels like there's a lot of scarcity here as far as like resources and provisions and things like that. The first important day. Here's the so long farewell, I hope we meet again card, and I feel like they're backing us up. I feel like I got ahead of myself with this. Sometimes it just happens because the information comes through. And here's the child card, relationship wise. I'll explain in a sec. And this is happy. So I feel like they're backing us up, and I feel like we are looking at like your third or fourth child being born. And by this point, it's like, oh wow, it's another kid. We need to think about things because we have a huge family now, a growing family, and you know, if we want these children to lead an even bigger, better life than we do, we need to look for opportunity. I feel like this day is the day that started you off on your new course, going into the new country, into the new continent, North America, and going towards that opportunity, so to speak. I feel like this is what put it in motion, was having a child. So I feel like, if anything, this message, and it was happy, like, you're happy to have this family here, but this what put everything in motion. And I feel like the message coming through this is just to make sure that all of your choices and decisions are made by proper motivation, and allowing that motivation to be for you and not others. Yeah, of course, you know, we want our children to have a successful, happy life, and that's great and everything, but more than anything, those kids are going to be happy and successful if they have happy, successful parents. And successful does not mean financial, you know what I'm talking about, more like, you know, full heart, full soul kind of successful. So I feel like here we're seeing a decision being made that, yeah, it is selfless, but it's also the decision that made life very hard and difficult and set you down a path that maybe you wouldn't have gone down had you not made that choice based on other people. And again, I know, I get it. People make choices for their kids all the time. I get it, but this is a message for you make sure not to do it again, and also a message that if you do have kids or you do have other people that you want the best for, so to speak, that if you choose to go with your heart and soul as to what is best for you, that you can rely on the fact that they will be perfectly fine based on that decision, because you're not going to make a decision that's going to ruin everyone's life or make anyone unhappy. Yeah, maybe for a moment here or there, whatever, maybe. But ultimately, if you make a choice that feels right to your heart and soul, and it's not just for someone else's sake, or just in case it you know, if we do this, then maybe in 10 years from now, they'll be this way. You know what I mean? So, because you can't tell the future. You don't know what's going to happen. So that's why it's so important to go based off of how you feel in the moment. And so that brings through a whole other message about being present. And I feel like that is going to be a big one for you in your current life right now. That if you can start focusing on being present as much as possible. And I do want to mention that what is helpful for that is breathing. When you focus on your breathing, you are present, because you have to focus on what you're doing, which is breathing in the moment, right? So I would want to say to look into breath work and look into, again, being as present as you can in the moment, and you're going to see a lot of flow. And also, I believe a lot of synchronicity is going to be coming up when you start to do that. It's kind of a little formula put together for you right here that's going to lead you exactly in the direction you need to go in. So it sounds maybe like it won't, because you're like, what is maybe you're like breathing in presence, you know, how is that going to you know, show me my purpose in life? Well, that's the beauty of it. When you are present and you're just, you know, breathing, you're present, you're in the moment, you're going to be able to be present also to those synchronicities and to those things that will come across your radar right then and there, and you'll be able to make connections. And those are little gifts, because they're like little like roadmaps. They're telling you, okay, you're doing good, you're on the right path, don't worry. And you're going to see opportunities coming up right then and there when you're in the present moment, because your consciousness is not in the past and worrying. It's not going to be in the future, anxious about the future. It's going to be right here and now. And I feel like if you do that, if you're looking for something, you're going to find it. But you got to be present and patient and start this practice if you haven't already, okay? So keep that in mind. So let's see if there's anything else here. Keep making connections with this. What's nice, the feeling is, even though you moved and it was for the children and their opportunity, and when you moved it was really hard, there wasn't resentment, which is really nice, because usually there is. But I don't feel like there was any resentment towards those kids. You took full responsibility for the choices. And I feel like, if anything, you might connect with that in being someone who has integrity and who might even be happy with yourself for being the kind of person who does take responsibility for their actions. You know, maybe even ahead of your time. Maybe when you were a kid you were like that too, but this is someone who's very responsible with a lot of integrity. So keep that in mind. The next important day here is the Mother Nature card, usually indicating a disaster, and already I'm telling you right now, I feel like it's an earthquake. I feel like, I don't know, maybe there's even something about California where it's, I feel like you might be living on the edge of, I'm bad with geography, so really sorry about this, but if New Mexico is next to California, go ahead and look that up, but I feel like there's a border that you live on. It's like a border of California, almost, and it feels like there's an earthquake. Anyway, it does, but which usually doesn't come out that quick with this Mother Nature card. The relationship is friends, the feelings is grateful, and I feel like this day is very special because we're seeing a natural disaster, this earthquake, and it's a big one. And I feel like for the first time, you are able to see that even though you left your home, your community behind, you see everybody working together and coming together, and you finally feel like these people around you can be that community that you have been missing for a long time since you moved. So I feel like there's hope is what it is. This day is a day of pure hope, and there's a lot of emotion, so sometimes I get emotional feelings coming through, and it's all coming up through the throat. It's like very, very joyful and happy, wanting to cry from happiness because it's something familiar and you miss it so much. There's something about missing home so much. Like it almost devastates you on certain days. I feel like you left family in this, you know, and it's just hard to travel and it's hard to get home to them, and it's almost like maybe it's like you haven't even seen them in years kind of thing. And there's a lot of like devastated feelings, but on this day it gives you hope that you can have the community again, that it's there. You just have to open your eyes. And again, that comes with being present, because this woman here she lives in the past because she misses her community so much that she just keeps living in memories. So she's been missing present opportunities to make friends and family out of her neighbors and her community. And so this day brings her present. It brings her fully present to the moment. And she's able to see again that hey, I can build here. I can build something here. I can set roots down. This can be my community. It's very emotional. It feels very, very good, bittersweet, happy and sad. It's really kind of one of those amazing, beautiful feelings. And that kind of feeling, you might be able to, like, if you understand what I'm saying by those kinds of feelings, if that triggers you in any way, make that connection. Connections having to do with community. Are you someone that's seeking community? Are you someone that wants to feel like you belong, or makes sure that you have always had a place to belong? Maybe you seek it out. If not, you might find that that is what you need. If you feel like you're missing something, go back to the community. Find your community. Find your tribe. You might like that. Finding your tribe. Those are the people who speak your language, people who grow with you, don't hold you back, encourage you. I feel like if anything it would be women more than men. I just feel like there's a very female presence to all this. And there's also something about reclaiming the divine feminine, reclaiming the feminine goddess power, the femininity, because she had to give it up in a sense here to be strong, even though women and I don't think femininity is weak, but what I mean by that is she had to give up some more, you know how it's like, I hate the word frivolous or it's not whimsical, but like the feminine mystique. It's like she had to give it up for a more rough lifestyle. And I feel like in your current life, if you find that you are claiming your femininity back, or learning about feminine energy and feminine power is important to you or interesting to you, it would be because you are in the process of reclaiming what was lost here, and that's part of your purpose in this life as well. So keep that in mind if that makes a connection with you. You might also be someone who is trying to redefine what feminine is. You might want to broaden the definition. You know, you might have been a tomboy when you were a kid, but you still found it feminine. You know, showing people, hey, feminine doesn't mean weak. Feminine doesn't even mean girly. Feminine can be bold and powerful and mysterious and wonderful, and you're just trying to kind of bring that energy forward. And if not, then then if anything, I would say that that's a message for you to look into the divine feminine. Look into things of goddess power, female power, feminine power. Look at the oracles of ancient Greece. Look at the priestesses of ancient Egypt. There's power there, and I feel like it would resonate with your soul. So keep that in mind and keep making connections where you can. Also, if earthquakes bother you, that would be something. I know it's simple and random, but really, honestly, based on this, you might actually be someone who likes storms. If you find that you like Mother Nature, even when she is howling, that can make sense because the earthquake here brought you amazing insight and wholeness. So it could be in your soul memory that you actually love Mother Nature in that way, even the storms, you know, even all the disaster stuff might be intriguing. Of course, yeah, it's not good when people get hurt, but if you find beauty in it, that would make sense. And also, again, the community seems very apparent here. So we're looking at being present, putting roots down, community, being grounded, being mindful. It's a kind of these lovely themes coming up. And so let's go to the death. So here we have the accident card. I'm just trying to see what comes through here. I do want to say that it's the environment. I want to something about not being okay. So it's like, honestly, this is gonna sound weird. I feel like you got bit by a venomous snake. That's all. I think the accident was being unaware in your environment. It feels like we are looking at an environment that does host certain snakes. Again, like a New Mexico kind of place. And I feel like a snake was hiding, you stepped, and it bit you. And I feel like it was on the ankle or the foot. And it just went through your body. And it was just kind of like just a bit of a tragedy, and you passed quickly. And I feel like you also, it was probably your 40s, it feels like. Maybe late 40s. So, so if you've ever had any fear of dying young for any weird reason, it could be this. If not, that's fine. Also, if you've had any issues with your legs, with stiffening of your joints, with inflammation of your joints, or specifically anything with your ankles or foot, and it feels like the right side, but it could be the left. Obviously, you know, it only gets as detailed as it gets, but it feels like we're looking at the right side, if anything. But ankles, feet, swelling of or inflammation of joints, or stiffening of joints, or parts, and I would feel like it's more waist down, if anything. So keep that in mind. And if you do make a connection with that, oh, and dehydration, by the way, if you're dehydrated, start drinking water. I mean, obviously, but if you find that if you've like chronic dehydration, if you're dehydrated a lot, it's time to it comes from what I'm feeling here, but make sure you just start drinking some water. It'll help with a lot of things. Yeah, so keep making connections with that. And if you do make connections with that, what I was saying was there are ways to get rid of that kind of thing through meditation, mindfulness, all that good stuff, because it is a memory pain. You know, we have a lot of aches and pains and things that happen from soul memories, and we can get rid of that once we realize, oh, this doesn't come from this life and it doesn't serve me. So the lesson here, which is so perfect, is self-love. I did not even look at this until this second, and I love this freaking card for this. So it's everything we're talking about. It's about filling your love bucket up, doing what's right for you, being properly motivated by your own joy, not for other people's. you know, don't compromise your dreams. Make sure you're doing things for you. And you know, when you do things for you and you're happy, other people will pick up on those happy waves, you know, that happy vibe, energy, whatever. So doing something for you is actually helping other people, believe it or not. So this is a really beautiful lesson, and it's just a reassurance or a reinforcement of everything we've been going over, which is that you came back into this life and you've incarnated to really recapture your power, to feel empowered, to feel joy and excitement, to follow your dreams, your path, your purpose, not to live for others. You can love others, but you don't need to live for them. And just make sure you keep filling up your self-love bucket, okay? You will see a difference if you really start to focus on this. As well as, just to recap, focusing on being present, being grounded, finding your tribe, trusting those people who speak your language, you know what I mean? And so that is your lesson. Now, let's see, anything else? No, keep making connections where you can, okay? And that was your past life, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections at least, and thanks for letting me read you.